It's between this show and the couples therapy show on Showtime that wins the title for best thing to be released during Mental Health Awareness Month. Queenie is the new show on Hulu that's adapted from a book by Candice Carty-Williams. And the book only came out in 2019, so the page-to-screen turnaround is actually pretty quick, which makes sense because this story is both timeless and timely because it's a sort of coming-of-age tale that deals with themes that are relevant in any era, but it's also dealing with specific circumstances and challenges that are specific to the age we live in now. And Queenie, the main character, is a 25-year-old Jamaican British woman living in South London, living between two cultures and entering neatly into neither. If you were a fan of the show Insecure, I think this show is positioned nicely and set up nicely to fill that kind of void that Insecure left. The main character, Queenie, is set up in the beginning with similar dynamics and similar situations that Issa was in the beginning of Insecure. I didn't watch that show all the way through, but just how the two shows begin, there are a lot of similarities. Well, this show is only 8 episodes, and it's only 30-minute episodes, but they put this main character through a host of very intense circumstances, like just one thing after another. She's dealing with quite a lot. But what this show does really well is depict the nuance and complexity of situations, because there were many instances where Queenie, the main character, was doing things to where if I was on the outside looking in, like if I was just a person who encountered her and didn't know the backstory, didn't have all the context of her life, I would probably be a little bit more judgmental, and I would probably feel as if she deserved a lot of the things that were happening to her. Like, there were some things that she was dealing with and was going on, and it was just due to her being a black woman in these spaces. And nothing she did warranted her getting these things. But there was a lot of things that she was doing that were a direct result of her actions and her persistent actions. So if I was just a coworker or a person who knew her casually, a lot of the things that were happening to her, I would felt like were brought on by her actions, and so were kind of deserved. But as the show went on and layers get peeled back, you understand how deep certain things run, how deep trauma is, how it affects certain mindsets and certain behaviors, and how the process of coming to a self-realization is not an A to B type of situation. You often have to go through different things, like when trying to fix yourself and trying to first acknowledge that you have a problem, you go through a lot of trial and error, and you go through a lot of self-destructive and hurtful behavior a lot of the times. And so they did that without demonizing one set of beliefs or demoralizing people who do one thing or another. This was just very much her singular journey. And it was very well depicted because she was doing stuff that might have worked for one friend, but the other friend didn't like, or she might try something else that was more in line with another friend, but it wasn't specific to her, so it didn't really help her. Because honestly, for such a well-done series, the problem I have is not with the show itself, it's with Hulu. Because they dropped all these episodes at once, and I feel like that's a detriment to this show. Because there were a few episodes, I think episode 4, 5, and maybe 6, where when the episode ended, I immediately wanted to watch the next episode, and I could. But if I had to wait a week for the next episode, then that would have built anticipation, that would have increased the likelihood that I would have had to talk about it with somebody, get other people into the show, get them to catch up, and then now we're watching the next episode together, which is so interesting because they don't do this with every show. Like Hulu dropped the Clippers show the same time, and they didn't drop it all at once. They dropped the first 2 episodes, and now you got to wait a week for the next episode, then you got to wait a week for the other episode. I think it's a 4-part miniseries. But that gets the conversation about the show going, because if you miss the first 2 episodes dropped, on Monday, people are going to be talking about the show. They're going to get you reminded that the show's out, or if you didn't know about it, they're going to get you interested in the show. Then over the course of the week, you can watch the first 2 episodes and be caught up to watch the 3rd episode so you could be in the conversation. But without that, there's no FOMO. There's no fear of missing out when all the episodes are out at once. Now you just feel like it's past. There's no point in catching up. It's to me harder to get new people in who weren't there when the episode dropped or that first weekend when you just throw it out there like that. And because not everything is set up for a binging model. Like, for me, the show did everything they were supposed to do as far as character development. But because I watched all 8 episodes at once, it felt a little rushed. Like, it felt like some of the things she was doing and some of the realizations that the characters were coming to happened very fast, because 4 hours ago they were lost and doing something completely different. But if it was a month of time where I was watching these characters do that, then I would have a completely different takeaway and a completely different emotional reaction to the things going on. And I'm still a little hurt. I'm still a little hurt about what Amazon did to The Riches, because they dropped all those episodes at once and that show got canceled, even though I felt like it was good enough to be a continual series, but there was no time to start and maintain a conversation about the show because they just threw all the episodes out at once. So this model, I don't think, works for these smaller shows. If you've already seen it, let me know what you thought about it. And if you read the book and watched the show, let me know how it stands up. Like, are there any major differences from the book to the show? Because, I mean, even the author makes a cameo in the show, so apparently she was happy with it. But just, let me know how you feel about it, and we can do a discussion, hopefully maybe raise a little bit of awareness about the show. But let me know. We can talk about it, and I'll catch you guys next time.